Hello, welcome to Basement Suites Done Right. Today I'll be talking about the 5 items you need to look for when you are building or buying the right house for your basement suite. And I'll start off by, it's called the 5 essentials of a suitable property. What are these 5 essentials? The first thing you need to keep in mind is that if you buy a house that has stairs right in the middle and there's nowhere to call a side entrance, that property is unlikely to be suitable for a basement suite. So let's go to the 5 essentials. Keep in mind also that once you buy a house from someone, you cannot go back to that person to ask them to remedy any problems there are with the suite that you now own once it's in your possession. So you take responsibility for everything once you have that suite in your possession. Here are the 5 essentials of a suitable property. One of them is the presence of a side entrance. So we all know that you need to create that privacy and safety for the basement suite tenant. How do you do that? By having an entrance that is dedicated to them. So I've already talked about the 3 types of entrances, which is the walkout basement, the side entry, and a common landing in a different video before. The second thing that you'll be looking at is fire separation. What is fire separation and why is it necessary? Fire separation is the ability to make sure that if there is a fire in one of the units or smoke inhalation, it's not going to go into the basement suite, or if it's in the basement suite, it's not going to travel to the upper suite. The way that they do it is to have a continuous ceiling throughout, and that all the walls, the ceiling, and the floors are actually protected so that the fire does not travel from one room to another or from one unit to another. The other thing you need to keep in mind in regards to that, the fire separation, is that they have to have interconnected smoke alarms, and this is for the same purpose. It's for the containment, to provide separation and protection to both units. The gas fireplaces and water heaters must also be enclosed in a room with fire-protected, smoke-tight gypsum board walls and ceilings to prevent the spread of fire to living areas and to reduce hazards to health, such as carbon monoxide poisoning. Number 3, the size of windows, the number of windows, and the placement of those windows. So the size of the window is usually stipulated by the city or the building code. So they will tell you that the windows should be large enough, and they will give you the measurements for your city for those windows. So those windows also need to be placed in a certain way, and they should be accessible and not obstructed. So the windows need to be placed low enough so that somebody can actually escape through it, climb through and escape through it to the outside should there be an emergency such as a fire. Every bedroom is required to have that kind of egress through a door or through a window. The other thing is that those windows have to be such that if you have to have a window well, the window well should actually be far enough outside, on the outside, so that the person can climb in and climb over that window well easily. So the main thing here in this point is that you have enough windows, 1 in each bedroom at least, and that those windows are large enough per code, and that they are placed low enough and unobstructed. The 4th point here is presence and number of parking spots to meet city requirements. Now, one thing to remember here is that there are cities that will allow you to build basement suites without having that extra parking, especially when the city is well served with, if the city is well served with good, sorry, there's just an insect here that is flying all over me. Anyway, the city, if it's well served with transportation, it might actually let you go without having that basement suite, that basement suite parking, the extra parking. Examples would include places like Edmonton at the moment. The parking requirements have been reduced, and so you don't have to have those many extra parkings like they used to want before for your suite. And remember that these things change from time to time, so always check with your city to make sure that at the time of building your suite, you meet the requirements for parking. In some other places, they might require more parking spaces than other places. I'm going to ignore the phone call. Then the last one is the heating system. So you always want your basement suite tenants to be comfortable. So generally basement suites can be very cold because of the foundation, which is cement generally. And so you want them to have the extra furnace to be able to control, or heated baseboards, or any other way of heating the basement, so that heated floors, for example, might be a thing. They may be very expensive, but just make sure that they have a heating system. So when you are out there looking for a house that's already suited, make sure you look for those 5 things: the entrance, fire separation, size, number of windows and where the windows are placed for egress, presence and number of parking that fulfill the city's requirements, and lastly, the heating system to ensure that each suite is adequately and safely heated. Thank you for joining me on this journey of building your basement suites right. So these are the right things you have to look for. If you are building new, then make sure that you are looking at the ceiling height and all these other items, and make sure that that ceiling height also fits within the requirements, the building code, and so on. Okay, talk to you next time. Join me in the next video.